Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexi. I am your host. And today I've got Darren Stephens with me. How you going there, Darren?
Yeah, good, Alexi.
Now, Darren is not your normal entrepreneur. He's just done way too many things, and I'm not even sure where to start. He's a self-made millionaire. He's a growth strategist. He's an author. He's had a publishing business that he recently sold. He's behind Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He's a father of 7 kids. There's so much stuff that Darren has done, and I'm not sure when he's done that. So, mate, tell me how you got into all this. I mean, there's just so many ways to really start this conversation, but I've been wanting to do an interview with you for quite a long time. So tell us, mate, how'd you get into all this entrepreneurial stuff?
Well, I think when I started out was my first sort of business was only when I was 13, and that was sort of come across by accident. And my mum and dad used to travel to the big city. I came from a little country town, and they used to travel to the big city, being Melbourne at the time, because my brother was born with a hole in his heart. And so when they'd come back from being down there at the hospital with him, they'd always bring back some sort of little gift from the big city for me and my sister. And they brought me back a little set of rubber molds that made chess set pieces. And so I was an entrepreneurial sort of creative or arty as a kid. So I made these chess set pieces and made up a chess set and had it on the mantelpiece at home. And a friend of the family's came round one day and he's seen it, and he owned a local barber shop. And he said to my mum, "Oh, where did you buy that chess set? Because I'd really like one of those." And she said, "Oh, well, Darren made it." And I said, he asked, "Well, could he make me one?" And I said, "Sure." And so I made him one, and he offered to pay me, and he offered to pay me $20. And so I thought I was rich, $20 as a young kid making something. And anyway, that was my sort of start into business. And what I realized afterwards, because he came back and then he started selling them in the store, and he came back to me and asked me to make a whole stack more. And so the first order I got was 5 of them. So it was $100. As a 13-year-old kid, that was a lot of money. And so I did that. What I didn't realize is he was selling them for $60 each. So he was making 3 times as much. But that was where I first started. And then I left school at a very young age, 16, and started work at a jeweler shop, and started out as an apprentice engraver. And so that was where I sort of worked for a few years, and then I left and started my own business. And so I was only 19 when I started my own business. And that was engraving and shop fitting business and signage business. And from that, I realized how much I didn't know about running a business, because I had to then go out and get customers and clients and do all the things you do in a business. And I really didn't have a clue because I'd left school at such a young age. So I had to start to go and learn. So I started going to seminars, and I went to seminar after seminar on business and marketing and sales, just to learn how to actually grow my own business. And so I would go to a seminar, be a huge sponge, learn some knowledge, go and apply it, see what worked and what didn't, had plenty of failures along the way. But that was enabled me to grow a business where we were doing around 12 million a year.
Wow.
In the signage industry. And we had, over 50 staff at the time that I grew it to. So learning and trialing all those things was a huge thing. But what I did realize, having a manufacturing business and doing that, is when you have a business that doesn't have a consistent income stream, because one of the things with signage is if you sell somebody a sign or do engraving or things for them, it's a sort of a one-off thing. Then you've got to go and find another customer, because once they buy a sign for their building or office, they don't need another one for another 5 years at least until that one wears out. So I was forever having to market to get new customers. So I got good at marketing and I got good at sales by learning that. But I realized that that wasn't the industry to be in. So I sold that company to get into. Then I actually got asked by a few other people to help consult to them on their marketing and grow their businesses. So I got into consulting and started helping grow a lot of people's businesses. Got to work with people like Michael Gerber and things. I learned a lot about systemizing businesses, and I did that, and then started growing a marketing consulting firm. And Then went into different types of businessing. I helped John Gray with Men Are From Mars with marketing the brand and the business, which was a huge success around the world. And then that led me into other people asking me, well, how I helped him with his book. So I ended up then setting up a publishing company and then used the book as a vehicle to help market people's brands and businesses. And so that sort of took me down that path. But over that, seeing all the different types of books that we've done over the years, I got to see hundreds and hundreds of different types of businesses and got to see what worked and what didn't. And really, you want to have a business that has a consistent recurring revenue, and there's many types of ways you can implement that into current businesses. And so, so that's where I sort of got my start and my passion around marketing and sales, and that was actually starting from my own stuff.
So have you actually counted how many businesses you've owned?
No, I haven't, but it's probably a lot. I've had everything from, commercial cleaning, which we still own. I had real estate, had signage, and we've had, I've had chemicals for when COVID came out. We had hand sanitizers and chemicals. I've had those businesses. I've had, a big range. I've tried lots of different things. And
So repeat business models are obviously great, and I love the whole idea of finding a customer and being able to re-engage them over time. That I think is obviously probably the most profitable business model in terms of it grows in that sort of spiral way. Buying and selling businesses, I mean, it sounds like you've actually done that a couple of times. So flipping businesses, people like to say, building it up to a certain point and then selling it. Tell us a little bit about that as a concept, because I think there's a lot of people who are really unclear about the business altogether when they get into it. A lot of people just discovering themselves, other people just wanting to make money. And a lot of people are very reluctant to let a business go. But I do find that quite a lot of people have, got a business or bought a business and then built it up to a certain point and then sold it off for quite a nice amount. You've obviously done that a few times.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that with an acrylics company. And it's funny, it reminds me of a story. One of the things was I set up a business from home, which was we were buying in plastic acrylic stands that you would use in retail shops, that hold the price tickets and things. And so we would buy the acrylic in and then just sell it to retailers. And that business had only been going a couple of months, and I decided, I wanted to do something different, and found some other shiny object to go after. And so I decided I'd sell the business. And I said to the accountant, I said, well, I want to sell the business. What do you think it's worth? And the accountant laughed at me and he said, you've only been going 2.5 months. He said, and it's made, $2,500 or $3,000, it's very, in 2.5 months. He said, you really don't have a business to sell. And I disagreed with him at the time. I said, oh, no, of course I do. And I said, because it's got all this potential growth. I said, look what I've done, sort of doing it part-time for a couple of months. It's already made a profit. But even though very little, I said, I'm going to sell it on the potential. So I wrote an ad, put it out there, and I ended up selling that business. I actually had 3 people want to buy it and offer me the money for it. And I sold it for $75,000.
Wow.
Right. And that was because I believed in the product, and I also believed in its potential. And I was able to show what the potential of that business could do. Even though I'd only done, a few $1,000s in a short space of time, I was able to say, well, here's all the clients, here's all the target market. This is what that could be worth if someone wanted to focus at it and do it. So I think if you're going to buy or sell a business, you want to be able to make sure, one, you've got a hungry market that wants that type of product, and that you can show the person, who is their potential clients and how to get them. And you've got some sort of system or marketing process that can attract those sort of people. And it's a product that people want. I'm a big believer in, what makes someone successful in business is find a product that somebody wants and then sell it to them. Right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find what people are actually looking for, and then find the solution to that and then offer it to them.
Well, I'm finding that with those sort of businesses, a lot of the time, it's really the marketing that's really the big gap. You find some amazing business models and you do find some really cool products, but obviously without the marketing, sometimes they just don't fly. So in your opinion, what would be like the top 3 things that a business really needs to sort of address in order to, fix their marketing or take their marketing to another level? Because a lot of the time people just don't even know where to start.
Well, I think one of the things over the years that really had a big impact for me was getting testimonials from your happy customers. And I think getting a video testimonial written, or a 5-star review, like I know you've got clients that do that, is having video testimonials is fantastic, because people don't necessarily believe you because you're going to say how wonderful your product or service is. But if you've got different people that are actually saying amazing things about that product or service, and they're coming from different perspectives. Whenever I would get a testimonial from our clients for the different services we offered, I would always get one that was based on a price objection. So, I think, okay, what are the likely objections that people may have about buying our product or service? And then I would make sure I had a testimonial that overcome that objection. So if it was on price, I would make sure that someone is giving me a testimonial saying I was amazing value for money. The investment that I invested in this product or service, I got back 10 times over, or was well worth it. All right, and then I might have one that's based on time. Whatever the objections could be, I work them out first, and then make sure I go and get a testimonial from those happy customers that actually connects to that. That's one thing. The other thing is to have an amazing website. And this is where people like you come in that do an amazing job. And I think they need to get not just any website. They need to get somebody that actually understands marketing and understands strategy. And I think that's something that I'm so grateful to have you as a part of my team, as far as being able to do things for us, is that you've got that marketing background, you've got that strategy. So it's not just making a website look pretty, it's actually got a whole strategy behind it, what works and what doesn't work and things like that. And I think that's a big mistake people make. They just go to any web people and they don't go to somebody that has like the expertise that you have with your company.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess overall, it really comes down to people, creating trust about their product and services. And I guess website, it's a focal point for the whole thing. I find that a lot of people have a little bit of ego involved when they do build their website, which is why they want things a certain way. And unfortunately, it's typically a bit of a costly lesson for them in the future.
So true. Look, I remember Russell Brunson talking to him, and one of his ugliest looking sort of sites or websites was the best performing, and he wanted to change it all the time, but he said he couldn't, because his other team members would say, but here's the stats, just look at the numbers. That one converts so much better than any others that you've tested or tried, even though they may look prettier or they may have all those things. That one worked way better. And I think that's where you've got to rely on the expertise of people that actually know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And don't let your ego get in the road.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Because you're not your market either. That's the thing. You've got to step back from that and go, okay, but what's the market telling me? And really listen to that. Yeah.
Well, Darren, I met you through Andrew Grant, one of my mentors, and one of the key people, I guess, in my life in terms of business and everything. And he used to always say, the money is in the list. It's really the list that is the most valuable part of the business. And I think any website, as long as it generates names and emails and allows you to sort of capture the information, and that has got some sort of a nurturing sequence behind it, is really a good starting point. Absolutely. So with all these different businesses, mate, you've got 7 kids. You and Jackie have got 7 children. So how do you find the time to do all this, mate? What's the secret?
Regular planning. It really is. If you don't take time out of the business to work on the business, and actually plan those things that you need to work on, then it creates chaos. And geez, we're not perfect by any means. I've had plenty of chaos. But I think actually planning out and spending that time. So we tend to take every Friday where we actually have it as a planning day. So because we have multiple businesses, multiple things, we actually have a strategy session where we're actually working through and looking at the different businesses and going, well, what's important? What do we need to focus on? What do we need to get done? and so that's what we tend to do. So the planning is really the key thing.
Yeah, I do find that planning and time management are probably the essential parts for anyone to get the job done, especially if you've got multiple tasks. But I guess it all really comes down to self-discipline. So you must have, trained that yourself or somehow I've got that.
Well, I have a saying, and I think this applies to everyone in business, is that first you have to get clarity. Because when you get clarity, that leads you to have more certainty in your body and in your mind, right? And when you have more certainty, that gives you more confidence. And because you have more confidence, then you take more action. And obviously, because you take more action, you get more success. So I think, but it all starts with getting the clarity, right? And so if you've got absolute clarity, and this is where it's great to have someone, like you, with you do mentoring and strategy sessions with your clients and things, you help get that clarity. Because then they have more certainty about, now I know what I've got to do. This is what we're going to do, and this is a path we're going to go down. Right. So then they get more confidence from that. And because they're more confident about it, they take more action on it. And then all of a sudden they've got more success. And it's this cycle. So I think it all starts with clarity and by taking the time to plan and actually do those things. And I have a routine as well for myself to even stay focused like that is every morning I'll get up, I'll go and, jump in the pool, have a swim, or then a sauna or a spa. And then I'll go and meditate for a little while. And that's my morning sort of routine. So in that time, I get to clear my head, just sit and think while I'm in the sauna or the spa, and think about my day and what's coming up. Right? I think you've got to take that time out.
Yeah, I think I've come across a very similar routine from a book called The 5 a.m. Club.
Right.
If I remember correctly, it was... someone Sharma. I can't remember the name of the author, but yeah, he did talk about the fact you got to really start your day with, I guess, activating your mind and activating your body and then planning. And if you start at 5 a.m., then by midday you would have done all your things and can go and do other things as well. But mate, yeah, absolutely, it really comes down to having a routine and following it, most importantly.
Yeah, now, what works with you, So
yeah, absolutely. Now you've done a few things like hypnotherapy, NLP. A ton of different stuff. How helpful has that been in your business?
Absolutely. The mindset wise, because really your mindset kicks off everything. And yeah, I have done hypnosis and NLP and trainer and all those things. And the hypnosis had a huge effect for me. I did that originally for myself to obviously help me be more successful, which it did. And then I've been able to help a lot of other people as well. So that, because one of the things that often holds them back is their mindset. Even if you can give someone the right strategy from a marketing point of view, they may not execute it or draw those things into their life that they need to because of their mindset. So they work hand in hand. You've got to have both.
Yeah. Well, I do find that, if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's whatever you believe in. And it's almost like poison. If someone's really, clinging to an idea that everything's bad or the world's going to fall, that's exactly what they're seeing right, left and center. It just sort of carries across in their body language and they talk and everything. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, mate, you would have been through quite a few economic crises. And in fact, we've had a guest, Phil McGann, talking about economic crisis. He's a financial planner a few weeks ago. Mate, in terms of marketing and in terms of sort of doing things differently, what sort of tips would you have for our listeners in relation to their business? Because a lot of people, what they're saying right now is buying confidence is going down. People, are reluctant to pull out their card and make a payment as easy as they did, let's say, in the last 3 years since the beginning of COVID. Any tips, any advice for business owners on that topic?
Sure. Well, I think every year, business owners, what you should do is, no matter what industry you're in, is go back to your suppliers and negotiate better rates, right? Because if you can save some money, on what you're spending on, your products or services within your business, then that's actually more effective than increasing your prices and trying to get more business in by just actually making savings the other end, which people often don't do. So, going to your suppliers saying, hey, listen, I wanted to come to you, you supply us X materials. I wanted to give, you've been a great supplier to us. But I've got a lot of people wanting our business, and I've had some pretty competitive prices come in, people wanting to offer us the same service that you do. But because you've been a loyal supplier, I want to come to you and give you the opportunity to see if you could give us a better rate, so that we can stick with you rather than having to go with somebody else. And you put it nicely like that, but I guarantee you those suppliers will come back and give you better rates because they don't want to lose you as a customer. So, that's a big saving you can make. And if you do that with all across your board with your suppliers, especially if you're, buying in products and things, then that can make a big difference. Yeah. The other thing, even on your own, from a personal point of view, you should do that every year with your car insurance, your house insurance, because the insurance companies don't reward you. As a matter of fact, they'll put your prices up. Yet if you're a new customer going to get insurance again on that same car or whatever, as a new customer, it's like 20 or 30% cheaper than what you are paying as an existing member. So every year I go and renegotiate our insurances and just say, I act like a new customer, get a price, and then I say, well, how come I'm paying more and I'm a loyal customer already? So they drop the price for you, right? But everyone should look at doing things like that. The other thing I think though nowadays, especially because of the way we've gone with the world and everything being so much online and computerized and things, is customer service and actually communicating with your customers in a real way, and connecting with people, because people still are emotional beings. And so the more you can put things in where you're actually truly connecting with your customers on an emotional level, in a way, whether it's through podcasts, whether it's through meetings or Zooms, or connecting with them with a newsletter or some way that you are connecting with the people. Don't lose sight of that. I think a lot of people now are going, oh, well, ChatGPT and all this stuff is coming out. But what's going to be more and more important is the real life connection with people. So find ways that you can connect with your customers in a way that's more personal, because that relationship is going to get even more valuable now in the future.
Absolutely. I do find that quite a lot. People are trying to automate things because obviously there's so many things available. And a lot of people are really focusing on volume of leads or volume of transactions as opposed to the quality and I guess the right sort of customers. In my opinion, and I had a podcast episode on this a while back, there's really three parts to any sales conversation. There's first of all a connection, then there's conversation, there's a conversion. But for some reason, a lot of businesses tend to jump the gun and go straight to the conversion. They just want to sell something. They have no idea who they're talking to. They've got no idea what the problem is. They just want to sell the service. And this is really what differentiates, I guess, good salespeople that are quite natural about what they do, as opposed to people who are just sort of trying to answer the call and that's it. And I think that's a big one for sure.
Yeah, I think if you can build that trust and that connection and have that relationship, that's going to be worth way more than just having 1,000 clients. You'd be better off with 100 clients that you've got a great relationship with, because they're actually going to be more profitable than the 1,000 if you've got that connection. So
yeah. I do agree that renegotiating with your suppliers, insurance and so on is definitely a quick way to save some dollars. And that's definitely something that a lot of people don't do, because it's going to take you half an hour and it may save you, it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year, but for some reason people just can't be bothered. And it's quite an interesting concept. It's probably something that people just don't want to do. They just don't want to talk to somebody about getting a discount. But you're right. Every time you sign up with a new insurance company for, let's say, car or home and contents, they typically offer you 15% discount, and they give you then a combined discount as well. Same for electricity. Same for a lot of other things as well, for sure. Yeah.
Telephone, all your services, all those things. Even your bank fees are all negotiable. Like, actually, right in the middle of when all the interest rates have been going up on mortgages, I rang our bank up and said, because they put ours up 2 or 3% or something, just like everyone else's has been going up. And I just rang them up and said, hey, listen, if you want to keep me as a customer, I want a better rate. They instantly dropped it 3%.
Yeah.
Right? Because they didn't want to lose me as a customer. Well, if I had have said nothing, I would be paying like everyone else another $200 or $300 a month on a mortgage or things like that. So, but the banks are a classic. If you go back and actually negotiate, saying, listen, we've been with you, a loyal customer, I need a better rate. Otherwise, there's so many other people offering great deals out there, I have to move. Well, they don't want you to move because you're worth more to them long term. So they will negotiate. So even though everyone else's has gone up, everyone else is paying the price, but mine went down during that.
Absolutely.
So all those things are negotiable. So
yeah. I guess another thing that's worth looking at as well for a lot of businesses is value adds as well, because I do find that if a lot of people are entering that bloodbath of, price competition, for example, and let's say one person is offering a service and someone offers a very similar service, then it's really about the value adds or the extra value that the business can offer. Any tips or examples of value adds that you can provide to, let's say, mum and dad's bricks and mortar type businesses?
Sure. Yeah. Look at your customer and go, okay, and say, well, okay, we might be providing a service. And give me an example of a type of business, and I'll give you an example.
Well, let's say a pressure cleaning, like a house washing type business.
Okay, so house washing, they're doing house washing or pressure cleaning. Then when they're there, they may say, hey, listen, by the way, we've negotiated with the local window cleaners place, or steam cleaning for carpets, or things like that, other things that may be relevant to that household, or a security company or whatever. We've negotiated a 20% discount with all these suppliers. Let me give you this coupon book, which is valued at $1,000 worth of discounts for all these different services for a homeowner. And we'll give it to you as a gift after we've done our pressure washing, just as a value add. And to give you an example, even on a property, I had a property on Hamilton Island, and when we weren't living there, we used to live there 6 months of the year and 6 months back in Melbourne. I would rent it out for 6 months, or to people that come for a different stay. So over that period, and what I had to do was I went, well, there's all these other people that have got rentals on the island as well. So they're all similar priced and similar standard, nice homes and things like that. So how could I compete? So what I did was, because most of us all advertised on places like Stays and Airbnb and things like that. So what I did was I went round to all the venue places on the island that offered different services. So there was jet boat riding, jet ski hire, fishing, golf. There was all these different services that, providers on the island. So I went round to all of them. They said, hey, listen, would you give me 10, 15%, 20% discount if I can supply you customers just that could walk in the door? So you're not having to market or advertise for them. I'll just offer their service to you via a gift coupon of a discount, right? So they bring that discount coupon in, they get to play golf and get 20% off, or they get some sort of bonus like an extra bucket of balls or a free beer at the bar and things like that. And they all said yes. They said, great, happy for them to get someone else marketing their business for them. So I put together this coupon book, which had over $1,000 worth of value in it, and I got it printed at Officeworks, stapled together. And so when I advertised our property, and it was like $500 a night to stay in our property, I said, but it also comes, with $1,000 worth of coupons for you to use in all of resort venues. Well, no one else had done that. So, of course, ours was the only property. So if they were looking at staying at a place and they looked online and they could say, well, okay, we could get this place that's $500 a night, or we can get this one that's $500 a night. Hey, but this one's given us $1,000 worth of vouchers that we're going to want to use anyway on the island to be able to go try those services.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that one. So ours was booked out all the time. Right.
Well, that's a win-win, I guess.
And it cost me nothing.
Yeah, that's the beauty. I guess it's a win-win in a sense that you're making someone's decision-making process a lot easier. Like they've got everything in front of them, plus they get a better rate, and it's a win-win for the businesses not having to market, and obviously you get a value add as well. I love that. I think the whole idea of having like a goodie bag or some sort of a gift bag with a few things like that works really well. A lot of people don't realize that there are companies that are actually very keen to provide you with discounts based on this sort of model. In fact, businesses like U Foods or Naked Wines, for example, if you call them and you say, hey, we've got a business and we do X, Y, Z, they'll send you those cards with discounts and better prices and so on. We actually use that in our online stores quite a fair bit, but it's a good value add. And just think about this, you send a product and someone's got a similar thing, but then you add extra value of, hundreds of dollars. And if you can market it saying, hey, $200, $300 worth of gifts included in this package, people love that sort of idea, and it creates this intrigue as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it hasn't cost you anything to be able to do that, add value. And I think one of the other things I think for people is when you look at your business, whatever your product or service is that you're offering, look at it and go, okay, I'm solving this problem for this person, right? But what problem then do I create? Because whenever you solve a problem, you also create a problem. So if I give you an example, let's say I've got a weight loss product and I help you lose weight. All of a sudden you're 10 kilos lighter now. Well, what problem have I've solved one problem that you wanted, you had too much weight, you wanted to lose weight, but now what problem have I created? Well, I've created a problem where your clothes don't fit anymore, so you're going to have to buy new clothes, right? Or you might want to go, so I keep the weight off, I might want to have a better eating routine or where the best restaurants are to eat. So what I could do is a value add, because I know that I've solved one problem. My bonus product could be, hey, here's the list of the top restaurants where you can eat healthily, on the Gold Coast, or Brisbane. Or here's, some discount coupons for, different fashion stores where you can go and get new clothes now because you've lost all this weight. And I've done an agreement with them, or so look at what problem you solve and then what's the next problem that you can solve, because that can be your next either upsell or add value to your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I also find that, there are some things that people can implement into their product or service which create an experience. So, for example, when real estate sell a house, you typically get a bottle of champagne or something like that. And really, it's not so much about here you go, here's the bottle of champagne, but it's about celebrate, the purchase of your new home. And that itself creates an experience. So if you can pass that message through to the customer and get them to do something, typically they would actually celebrate with somebody else, their friends or family. And this actually creates a bit of reciprocity where the real estate agent will probably get mentioned like, oh, who was your agent? How did you go? And everything. So the whole thing would actually become a conversation. And I find a lot of people don't go with that. But I think including, a bottle of wine with any service just to sort of celebrate, I don't know, a new clean home or something else definitely adds that.
Well, I think also what people don't understand often is lifetime value of the customer. And, so don't be scared to spend a little bit of money up front when you get a new customer on creating that wow factor. Like give them the champagne and the chocolates or the whatever, so that they go, wow, and they tell 10 of their friends and you got 10 referrals now. But also you've had that impact. So even if it's cost you a little bit more up front, the lifetime of that customer that they stay with you could be huge. I know if I use this as an example often, the average investment for a small business is maybe $5,000 to $10,000 a year they might spend with an accounting firm. Well, and most people stay with their accountant at least 5 years or 10, or even longer. But even if we said it was just 5 years, so really the lifetime value of that customer for an accountant, if they get a new customer, is $50,000. If they $10,000 a year, for 5 years, it's $50,000. So if an accountant got a new customer, they could afford to spend $1,000 on them, even if they wanted, because that customer is really a $50,000 customer. So they want to create a wow factor. So look at that in your business and go, well, whatever product or service you sell, how long does the customer stay with you if they keep liking or using your product or service? And what are they really worth to you? Because then maybe you'll look a little differently at how you treat that customer. Because every new customer I get now is not $1,000, they're $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. And so then think, well, what can I invest up front to keep this relationship and to really make it a big impact right from the word go, so that they tell lots of their friends about me, but also, we build that relationship on a strong foundation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm doing that even with our cleaning company. One of my children have a commercial cleaning company, Urban Clean. And so when we have a customer, after they've started with them and they're doing the offices or cleaning and things like that, after the 4-week mark, they go in and they do an audit report and they check everything to make sure everything's been done well and see the client. But they take in this big gift box, a bit like what the real estate agents do, right? And so it's got chocolates and champagne and candle in it and all sorts of stuff. It's a big wow, because no other cleaning companies do that, right? So we looked at, well, how can we make a big impression? And then at the same time, after we've given them that, guess what? We then say, hey, listen, obviously you've been super happy with us anyway. Is it okay if we grab a quick video testimonial from you about, our services? And they, of course, you're just giving them this big parcel and gifts. They're not going to say no. And so then we do the video testimonial with them as well. And of course, they're all super happy. And now you've got a great, testimonial that's going to help sell your customers to the next person.
Absolutely. And it's a lot easier to obviously convert their connections after that as well, once they see their friend or relative giving a testimonial. Mate, I think you've mentioned a lot of really good tips for business owners who are basically struggling to convert right now. So hopefully our listeners are getting, some good ideas. I guess the last thing I want to throw in here is, guarantees and stuff. Obviously, that's quite a big topic altogether. And when people are sort of reluctant to buy, I mean, what's your take on guarantees and, do's and don'ts and your experience with them? Would you recommend businesses sort of squeeze that into their marketing material?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, because there's so many people are more skeptical out there nowadays, and rightly so, because there's lots of fraudsters and people that rip people off and things. But I think you got to look at, well, whatever your business is what are the fears that the customer face when they're looking at buying in your business, or buying your product or service? They will have underlying fears, and you need to take some time or sit with your coach or strategist like yourself to go, well, what are they? Because you need to know what they are, because that way you can address them on your website, you can address them in your marketing materials, but also you need to know them so that you can then counteract that by having a guarantee, saying, hey, listen, most people worry about this when they are going to purchase one of these items or get this done. We want to assure you that because of our quality, service and systems, we do this. And to make sure that that's the case, we offer you 100% money back guarantee that if we don't deliver on this, or we don't provide you the best care or the this or that, then, we'll double your money back, or we'll do this, or whatever the guarantee is. But you can have a guarantee. I remember dentists once that they said, well, how do we offer a guarantee? And they said, I said, what are the biggest fears when people come into a dentist? Well, that they're going to feel pain, or they're going to, it's going to hurt getting their teeth done. So they offered a guarantee, say, we're going to guarantee that we're going to take the best care, we're going to use the best hygiene, we're going to use the best drugs so that you feel the minimalist, amount of discomfort and things like that. So you can be rest assured that when you leave here, you'll be smiling, So they had a guarantee around dental work.
Absolutely. And I think this is where it's very important to understand each industry. There are definitely regulations, but if you're guaranteeing things that are, sort of common sense or are expected anyway, but you obviously make an extra focus on that certainly adds a bit of value. I've come across an anecdote that sort of explains the whole guarantee thing quite well. It's about an Irishman buying a horse from an Englishman. You might have heard that one.
No,
so an Irishman is buying a horse from an Englishman, and the horse has died. So when the Irishman rocks up, says, "Where's the horse?" Unfortunately, the horse has died, and I was going to sell it to you for $500. I'll sell it to you for $100. So no worries. He took the horse and disappeared. And the Englishman's like, well, what's wrong with this guy? So a month later, he comes across the Irishman and says, so how'd you go with the horse? He goes, yeah, really good. So what'd you do? So I sold him. So what do you mean? How did you sell that horse? I did a raffle. I did a $2 raffle or £2 raffle to 500 people. And the horse was gone. He says, what do you mean? What about the guy who bought the horse? He says, well, he wasn't happy, so I gave him his money back. So,
yeah, exactly. I think that's a great one.
I think that's a good example of a guarantee. And, yes, you're going to have some people who are not happy, but the amount of people that will come through as a part of the guarantee is a surefire way to get more business through. And I like to look at it from a perspective of having like a business promise before the transaction and after the transaction. It's really before the transaction is really where the fears need to be addressed. And the guarantee really breaks the ice on a lot of different occasions.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, if you believe in your own product or service, wouldn't you want to do the right thing by somebody anyway? If they're unhappy with your service, you'd want to try and say, okay, well, let's try and either fix it or not anyway. So a guarantee really is just an extension of what you would want to do if you really believe in your own product or service. So I've never had a fear against the guarantee at all. I mean, I've always used guarantees on everything I do because I really believe in my product or service. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be offering it or selling it. So to me, there's no real risk there. And
Absolutely.
sure, the amount, as you say, the amount you're going to gain from taking away people's fears and getting that extra revenue in is way outweighed compared to the one person that might be unscrupulous and just try and take advantage of that guarantee. So you're going to have made 10 times the amount anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to put your conditions in place. You got to understand what you're doing, but overall, it does work very well. And I think a lot of people, it's really their mindset that's preventing them from putting that guarantee in place. So I think early on you were talking about mindset and how you got to change that as well. Well, if you look at any products at Woolies or Coles or anything, if you look closer, every single one of them just about has got a guarantee or a money back clause on them, and it's quite interesting. So all those products and all those businesses really believe in the product that they're selling so much that they're willing to give someone their money back. And, it's not really a matter of them handling that product once it's returned. Typically goes straight into the bin, so they lose money on that. But the gain that they generate from that is just enormous. Mate, really, really good tips. And look, I feel like you and I can talk forever, mate. But one last thing I want to touch on, and I think we'll probably call it a day from there, because we probably should do another podcast, because there's so many things you can talk about. Let's talk about Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So that was one of the first books, I guess, that you worked on, or at least I know of. I mean, I obviously met you through Andrew Grant about, 15 years ago? And I think that was really quite a big credibility factor. But that book itself was a bit of a flop at the beginning, right? So when you started working with John Gray, it wasn't really an idea that anyone wanted to buy. So do you want to just share with the listeners that story?
Yeah, the story behind that was, it actually... no one wanted it, to be honest. There was 6 or 7 different publishers that got offered the book, and they all said basically they hated the name Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and no one wanted it. And so at the time, John was disheartened by that, but so he decided he'd print, some of the books, and so he printed 1,000 copies himself, and thought he'll try and market them himself and get it out there, which, never works when you're trying to do it without going through a major publisher. And anyway, he, at the time, we said, okay, we need to create the demand, right? So we need to do this differently. So what we did was we sent John's friends we got them together and we said, go into these different bookstores and ask for a copy of the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And what's going to happen, this is what will happen, is the bookstores will look on their computers and like, oh, we don't have a copy of that. And then what the person was instructed to say was, well, can you ring up the publishers and ask when you're getting stock of it? And so the bookstores would do that. And of course, the publishers would be getting calls saying, oh, we want copies. We've got people who want to buy this book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And the publishers would say, oh, we don't have stock. We're not, we haven't got it. And so, but we send all these people into different stores. So the publishers are now getting calls from all across parts of America wanting a copy of this book. And the publishers going, gee, we're getting a lot of demand for this book, and we'd rejected this book. And the bookstore owners were getting a bit frustrated because we'd have 2 or 3 people go into the same bookstore saying they want it. So now the bookstore owners, the retailers, are going, well, I'm missing out on sales here because you can't get me stock of this book. So they're sort of ringing up, getting angry about it. And the publishers then ended up ringing John and say, hey, listen, maybe we're wrong, and we want to get some copies of your book. So he said, well, I've printed 1,000. I'll send you those. So they took his 1,000 and sent them out to the stores. So then what happened was, though, that John's friends went into the stores and bought the books, right? So they created the false demand. So they started buying all the books, and then the publishers went, oh my God, we've sold out of all these books virtually in a couple of days. This is amazing. Maybe we were totally wrong with this book. We'll actually now properly print a whole stack of them and actually market it and get behind it. And so that's how it sort of started. And so they did that, and then went on and did over 40 million copies of the book, and it was in 150 languages, 53 different languages in 150 countries.
Wow!
So so it did over $1 billion in sales. So
that's quite a story, and I think I personally love how you think outside the box. And I think that the problem from memory was really that there were quite a few books on that sort of topic, and publishers weren't really keen with that. So creating demand, I love that idea. And then obviously the overall response was really cool. And I think John ended up on the news, and
got a lot of free publicity as a part of that as well. And then obviously you came in and helped them build it into another model, business model.
Franchise model and a whole range of things. Yeah.
Amazing. That's really, really cool.
But I think that's one of the lessons. You have to think outside the box, and I think getting around people like yourself or like myself that think a bit differently, that can think outside the box and help create those opportunities. And I think that's what that makes you stand out, is do the things that people don't. Even when it comes to your customers and clients, do the little things. The little things make a big difference. Go that extra mile, and especially nowadays, you don't have to do a lot to stand out, because people have got so used to just, not doing all those little extra things.
Absolutely. I do love that. And there's quite a few concepts that have been sort of long forgotten, like sending personalized letters, for example. A lot of people don't do that.
I still do it. Do it to this day.
And it stands out. People will definitely see it, and it's a bit of a wow factor as well. Absolutely. Mate, are you taking clients on at the moment? I mean, what's your situation at the moment? Are you actively working, or are you focused on your commercial cleaning and real estate businesses now?
No, I still have those, but I still have my inner circle and my mentoring like that. So we still take on clients like.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, is it darrenjstephens.com the best way to contact you? That your website?
Yeah, probably just that. Yeah, through that website. Yeah,
Darren J. Stephens. I'll put that in the description, guys. Well, mate, look, I think we've covered a lot of different things. I think overall, you guys can see that Darren really thinks outside the box and comes up with some interesting ideas. Obviously, it's not rocket science, but it's interesting how you time things and how you basically go against what everybody else is going. So love that. I think the concept is brilliant. Mate, thanks very much for your time. I know you're a busy man, but I've been wanting to do this interview for quite a long time. And guys, if you're enjoying my podcast, please make sure you subscribe. And if there's any particular guests that you like to see on my podcast, comment below and let me know. Darren, mate, thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alexi. And I want to say, the work you do, and I've seen you transform businesses. It's just amazing. And I think you're one of those special people that have that out of the box thinking as well. And you come from, not only you have an amazing technical background and knowledge that most people don't have, and you can bring it all together, because you've been around marketers and have been around all this industry for so long now, at least 15 years. And that's rare to see somebody with all the technical background, all the internet, the marketing background, and being able to pull it all together. And I think that's a special gift that you have. And people, I would encourage people, if you're not already working with Alexi, then you're crazy, because I've seen the results with so many people, and they just rave about the results you get from them. So thanks, and I really appreciate being on the podcast.
Thanks, mate. Well, that's a huge compliment for me, mate. I have to process this now, but this means a lot to me. Thanks, mate.
No worries. Take care.
All right. Bye. Cheers.